It's time to get all smutty up in here. Not slutty, I said, okay? Smutty. Because it's Wednesday, and Nora joins us for Smut Tales. Smut Tales. I'm ready for it. Nora's reading a good book right now. She has a whole bunch of stuff.
This actually
isn't from the new book?
No, this is from the 3-book series that I just finished.
I want to be up to date on the latest.
Oh, you want to be up to date on the latest? I can find you.
Did you give us a quote from the book that you gave us last week? Is that what you were planning on doing again this week?
The book that I gave last week. Oh, God, what did I do last? No, last week was a book that I had read like a couple months ago because I hadn't finished that 3-book series yet.
Okay, so now we're going to get
the quote
from that same series is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Ravenhood series. So by Kate Stewart. The first book is Flock. The second book is Exodus. And the third book is The Finish Line. And basically it is a modern take on Robin Hood mixed with Fast and Furious. And yeah.
Robin Hood and Fast and the Furious go together?
Yeah, basically, the aesthetic of this book is a Robin Hood type gang who, not really a gang, but it's a like brotherhood of men who steal from like these corrupt companies.
Okay.
To give back to like smaller businesses.
Interesting.
And the entire like basis is to go after this one person. And they end up falling. 2 of the guys in the first book end up falling in love with the guy's daughter. And then the leader of this Ravenhood group ends up stealing her from them. And he claims her.
I always feel that in any sort of romantic comedy, that it is always an employee falling in love with the boss's daughter.
They weren't employees, though.
Oh, I thought you just said they were.
No. They
worked for the guy, I thought you said.
One guy worked for the company to get inside details. But the reason why
Sting.
Because the reason why they were going after this one guy and his company was because his parents had died in a fire at this company, and basically
I'm pretty sure that's like a superhero. That's how a comic book begins for a superhero, I think.
Their parents died in a fire, and they basically got like a settlement payout. And the guy had the owner of the company kind of just wasn't really doing the right thing.
All right, now that we got the background of it, let's get our quote. Our smut tale of the week. Let's get it, Nora.
Okay. So this is Tobias speaking.
It's a Bible name, isn't it, Tobias? Or
Yeah.
it's Toby. I don't remember.
I don't know. This is Tobias speaking. God, why can't I think of the girl's name? I'll think of it in a second. But this is him speaking to her. And this is actually 2 quotes because they kind of go back to back. Not your fucking roommate. I look her soundly from center to top, sucking her clit briefly to earn my first plea. The man in your life, your partner, your soulmate, your other half. I dip again and jackhammer my tongue where she needs me most. She mews in protest when I pull away. Lowering back to kneel before her, I thrust my fingers in and suck her clit with fervor. Not long after, she calls my name, gripping the sheets in her fist. She goes completely silent as her body erupts, back bowing from the bed, her clit pulsing against my tongue. With each wave of release, the glide of my fingers slowly slicker and slicker as she floods my mouth. As another wave hits, my name bursts out of her, and the sheer force of it has my throat burning.
There's a lot about the clit on that one.
Well, I mean, he was enjoying it.
The good old C word. It's a different C word that you could actually say, but that guy was focused in on it.
He was focused. That was only 36% into the book, too.
Man, they got after it.
Well,
it
was book 3, so.
Do they all flow pretty well together, these books?
Yes, so this one was a true actual series. more of a modern thing now, a standalone series to where you don't have to read all of them or you don't end on a cliffhanger, but these books all ended on cliffhangers. So the first book was her relationship with Sean and Dominic. And God, I can't remember her name right now. And then it ends.
Clitoris.
No. Let me think. But
Clitopatria.
then book 1 ends and Tobias shows up at the end of book 1 and you don't know who he is or...
Is it Riley? Is her name Riley?
No.
Riley Reed? It's not her name?
No.
Okay.
Why are you just throwing out names there?
I feel like you should know this girl's name. I feel like you're not making her part of the story. Like she's not a big part of this storyline. Do you know how much of her clit was just thrown out just in that segment? She deserves to have a little time on this.
You know,
book.
I very rarely remember the girls' names. And I don't know why.
I don't understand why you wouldn't either.
Cecilia.
Cecilia.
Yes, because they play the Garmin Funk.
You've told me.
I know. I just couldn't think of her name. It's Cecilia. But then book 2 starts with Tobias showing up, and you don't know who Tobias is or what his role is. And then book 3 is told in Tobias's point of view. And you kind of get to hear, you go back in time from, when he starts at the age of 8 and hear, the whole backstory of to how he started this. It was a very good series. Not something I typically, would read. It's more of a suspenseful thriller romance, which is not my typical genre. I did not know what I was getting into when I picked this book.
Do you usually like the bad bitch genre?
Yes.
Okay.
I picked the book because it was all over TikTok, and everyone kept talking about the float scene. This float scene of a threesome on a boat raft. And I was sold. I'm in. And then it was emotional roller coaster.
Uh-oh.
And
so it would have been almost like if Jack and Rose found another partner to have sex with as the Titanic was sinking.
Basically. I mean, there were tears. There was anger. I don't know if there was anal. I don't know there was an anal in this book. But, I mean, there may be anal in the book that I'm reading now, but...
I'd say that's little kid stuff.
That's amateur stuff. But no, I picked the book because I heard there was a threesome in it and it was a reverse harem, and boy, was I wrong. It was very emotional, and I cried.
Did you cry because they didn't end up as a throuple?
At one point, I was really pissed that she wasn't going to get to be with Dominic and Sean.
You did want it to be one big couple.
I liked their dynamic. Their dynamic was she was with Sean when it was sunny out, and she was with Dominic when it rained.
Why was that? What was the
Because Dominic was more of the quiet, less outgoing one, and so she said, "My rainy days are yours." But there was a very good scene in the first book where she's reading and has to focus on reading while he is going to town on her. And if she gets distracted, he stops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I was like, that takes some concentration, woman.
That takes a lot of skill.
I know.
She probably had that done a few other times.
Yes, she enjoyed it.
Yeah, she needed some practice in there. I don't feel like you could just do that right off the bat and be very good at it. You're going to be,
Yeah, you got to focus.
Yeah. Got to focus in on
and then write the book report on it.
That's one thing that I would ask after that. Be like, hey, what were in those pages that you just read?
Right? I need a full, summary of what you just read.
Do you remember back in elementary school when you would make a book report? I don't know if you ever had to do this, but in my elementary school, book reports were huge at every grade. And throughout the year, one teacher made us go up in front of the class, but we had to do like every month was a different sort of project that we had to do to tell our book report, right? And one time it was like the mobiles. You remember the mobiles? It's like on a hanger.
Okay.
And then you attach things to it, and then like you branch off on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she should have to present. a mobile. A mobile book report.
You came to that full term.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, I got book 3 of the Salacious Players Club, which is the series about the sex club. So the first one was the girl who ends up falling in love with her ex-boyfriend's dad. Book 2 was the one where he falls for his stepsister. And book 3, which is the one that I'm...
Falls for the grandma.
No.
Oh,
but book 3 is the one that I'm reading now, and that is the guy Hunter asks his best friend to sleep with his wife because he thinks he would enjoy watching it. And book 4 comes out in September, and we know it's a reverse age gap.
When you say we, who's we?
Oh, me and Rachel.
Oh, okay. Like, who the hell is we when we're talking about this?
Me and you, baby. Me and you. No, it's my friend Rachel who, her and I are both reading this series, and she also read the Ravenhood series too. And she hated me for a couple days after making her read that because it was so emotional. But book 4, her and I think that it is we know it's a reverse age gap, so the woman is older.
Got it.
But we don't.
It could be a grandma.
It could be. We don't know. There's one other person.
Could be Kris Jenner.
I don't think she's gonna.
Grandma.
I don't think she's gonna make it in this series, babe. But there's one woman who's kind of like the quiet person of the sex club. I think she handles most of like the finances, and she's kind of like not in the limelight. Her name is Maggie, and it's either her and I think it's either going to be Maggie's story, falling in love with someone younger, or there's a woman named Eden who is she's like a member of the sex club, and we think maybe it could be her, but we got to wait till September for that one.
All the way to September. But you know what? I can't wait to hear about it in September.
It's going to be a good one.
You'll have to give us a quote from that book in September. All right.
All right.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by for another do smut tale. Do smut tale. Only the best for you.
Thanks.
That's my wife, everybody. Miss Nora. She delivers on all cylinders. Everything smut related, anything book related. You need any suggestions? She got you. Slide into her DMs, okay? Just for book suggestions. That's it. Nothing else. The DMs are mine for life, okay? We just celebrated a year of marriage. We had a nice little anniversary day. Had the day off of work, went out, explored some towns. By towns, I just mean one town. Checked in all the beautiful scenery. I mean, it was great. I really enjoyed our day together. I hope she enjoyed it. Because I did. You know what else we enjoyed? The Bert Kreischer Comedy Festival. We went to go see that on Friday of last week. It was at the KFC Yum Center. It was a great lineup. Fantastic show. Anytime that you could go see Bert Kreischer, you go take your ass to that show. Because you are going to laugh for probably 2 days afterwards. I'm that serious when I say it. His delivery, his storytelling ability is just next level. I've only seen a few comedians that have been able to tell stories the way that he does it and makes it so intriguing. You're just hooked on every single word that he's saying, and you're like, man, this guy is going to be hilarious. But the reason why it was called a comedy festival is because he brought an excellent group of people to tell some jokes. I'm trying to think of everyone that was there that day. I know, that's not good. I should know who was there already. But his people change every single location. So I'm trying to see who exactly was there with him that day. So that way I could tell you who I thought was really good. I do know who my two favorite were of the night. I can tell you that, but I'll tell you who was all on the show with him. It was Aaron Weber, Taylor Tomlinson, Big J. Olkerson, Dustin Nickerson, Shane Gillis, and Dave Attell, who I can't believe is still out there telling jokes. It was a really, really good show. Aaron Weber, I believe, is the guy that Nora and I have seen before. We saw him once in Little Rock with a Christian comedian, and I almost felt that Aaron was kind of out of place during this whole show because he was still a very clean comedian. Everyone else kept, the whole night kept dropping F-bombs and everything, and then you have Aaron, who was making jokes about kind of always looking like the dad and being a guy that drives a minivan, and you look at him and you're like, he totally fits the description of being a dad. How in the hell is he not a dad? Like, he should have been wearing New Balances, the Grill Master 3000s. He should have been wearing those out on stage. But he was pretty funny, especially for the way that he told jokes. He was very clean. Sometimes I think some comedians get into the habits of just cursing to try and make jokes a little bit funnier. Aaron was not one of those people. He could just tell a story and be good. Shane Gillis is a guy that I had only slightly heard about before we saw him. I never seen any of his stand-up work. I think I've seen him as a guest on like a podcast or something before. And I'm always like, I should check him out. And I was able to check him out. He was pretty good. But besides Bert Kreischer, on the night, Taylor Tomlinson was probably my next favorite comedian. I was so mad when Nora got to go see her at the Brown Theater in Louisville. She went with one of her girlfriends. I was supposed to go, but I got stuck working. I couldn't trade off my shift. And Nora said that it was a really good set from her. And I don't think that she got enough time at this show because of all the comedians that they had. I don't think that she got enough time to actually go through a good full set for her. She should have had a full hour by herself because she is that good. If you ever get the opportunity, I believe she has 2 Netflix specials. So if you get the opportunity, watch those on Netflix. And Bert Kreischer, I told you, he's fantastic. He could tell a story. One of the funniest things I thought during the whole night was him telling this machine story. And if you've never heard this machine joke, it's kind of like the joke that he's known for. But it wasn't the joke because I'm not a big fan of that joke. A lot of people are. And I wouldn't really consider it a joke. I would consider it to be a story. But it was about him being a student at Florida State University, and his daughter's getting ready to go to college, and there was a lot of illegal stuff that he did on this trip, so he never wanted his daughter to hear this story, and she still hasn't heard this story. And she is working on this tour as, someone behind the scenes. Bert's bringing her from city to city, and he brought her up on stage, and it was the first time that she was hearing it, and you could tell when she was up on stage, because Bert brought her up for a second, and you could tell that she was like embarrassed to hear this story for the very first time. That kind of made the whole thing, to be honest with you. It was a good show. I had some bigger takeaways than just the show. My biggest takeaways of the night were the crowd. There were so many different observations that I had in the crowd. I told you, I love to people watch. Love to people watch. And I thought that I had the best time to people watch at this show. Bert Kreischer fans are a different group of people. Different group. And I think you saw a lot of the same white people there. It wasn't a very diverse crowd it was mostly white people, okay? Now, there was a diverse white crowd there You saw some people that had money, some people that were probably not, they're socially, economically not on the lower standards of that. But for the most part, it was just a very weird crowd. Very weird and very smelly crowd. I have never been inside an arena that has smelt so bad in my entire life. It was hot that day. I'll have to say, it was hot that day. And if you ever go inside of work after somebody just went outside for maybe a few minutes, they come back inside after lunch, maybe they went for a little walk and they come back in, you smell that nastiness. That was the whole arena. Smelt like dirty BO. It smelt like a teenage boy's room that hasn't showered all summer but has still been outside playing the whole time. That's how bad it smelled in there. Like, these people stink. Wanted to walk around handing out some deodorant to all these people. Like, bruh, you stink, put this on. And then there were some people that didn't make the matters any better. Because what they did, I feel like, they knew that they smelled. They just masked the smell with cologne. That's not how you do it. You cannot spray cologne on something to hide a smell and think that it's going to smell better. It's not. It makes it worse. It makes it stand out even more. So don't ever do that. That's why I think sprays in bathrooms don't work either. I'm just like, you're trying to mask up a poop. In this scenario, you're trying to mask up people's body odor, and it stinks. It makes it a horrible combination. I looked at one of my friends and who was there at the show, and I told her, because I had already told Nora this at this point, and I was like, I don't know if I could ever go to a summer event that is not outdoors again. Because these people stink so bad. Ugh. And to make the matters even worse, not only do we have to deal with all the sweatiness and the smelliness from everyone inside the arena, Nora had a little trouble with the person that was sitting next to her. The guy that was sitting next to her was a bigger dude. Now, he wasn't like huge overweight. He was very husky, very built out. Like, he was very wide. And Nora was sitting next to him for the first part of the show because they did an intermission. And this dude was spreading. I mean, complete spreading. His leg was rubbing up against Nora's. His arm halfway into Nora's side. She was just uncomfortable. She did not enjoy the first half of that show because of how uncomfortable she was. And when we walked around during intermission, she was like, babe, I'm telling you right now, I cannot sit next to that guy again. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I got this. I was an asshole to this dude. Guess what I did? I spread my legs out. I made sure that I established my dominance on that armrest to make him uncomfortable. He just made my wife uncomfortable for the first set. I was going to make him equally as uncomfortable for that second half. I accomplished it. Because at one point he was like, oh man, I'm sorry, dude. I just need a little bit more space. And I'm like, that's not happening under my watch. Whenever you go to an arena, you go to a game, the space that you have is the seat. So your legs go down to the seat. They do not spread past the seat. They stay inside of those seat lines. Now, the only thing that is truly up for debate when you go to a show is who gets what armrest. I think that's a big debate. Do you get the one to the left, get one to the right? Now, this is where I say you get the one to the right. The reason why you get the one to the right is because there are usually, not in every scenario, but usually there's an armrest to the right of the people that have aisle seats. So everyone should have an armrest to the right. That's the way that I think it should go. I don't think it's ever meant for someone to get two armrests. You get one, and it's to the right, just because of that scenario that I painted out for you just there. So go to the right. That's what I think we need to establish. We need to have a rule. Right armrest only. Then everybody else will be good. It all falls into place. I feel like an old man complaining about this stuff, but you know what? Nora was uncomfortable. I felt bad for her. Felt very bad for her in that situation. Like, we paid a lot of money in order to see this. It was like part of our anniversary weekend. I wanted her to enjoy it just as much as I did. I had a lot of great laughs that night. A lot of great laughs. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Luke Kelly Show. Next week on the show, don't know what I'm going to do for the top 3 yet. But I do have one subject that I really want to talk to you about. And if you've ever been bullied into tipping, because this is happening more and more to me. And I'll tell you how this is happening coming up on the Monday episode of the Luke Kelly Show podcast.